imagine I came to you with a book and all of the words were written from right to left. You would say, that doesn't really make sense. And I want you to know that that's because your brain neurologically has developed patterns of learning and patterns of reading. And there are patterns that make sense and are easy to follow and patterns that are not and are difficult to follow. It's the same thing when we present. Our organization of our message needs to make sense. Otherwise, it will feel uphill for our audience's brains to follow along, and at some point, they will probably check out. So I want to look at some types of patterns. We'll go through these quickly, and then we'll look at a couple that we will use later in this course. So let's look at the first one, chronological. That word chronos just means time. A couple examples of that might be the evolution of cell phones. You might start in the early 90s and then move into the 2000s, but you wouldn't start in the middle, then jump ahead, and then go backwards. You might talk about Revolutionary War battles, and you would start with an earlier one. You would move through time. If you're talking about someone's life, you might start with where they were born. That makes sense to your audience. It's easier to follow. Okay, let's look at the second one, and that's spatial. Maybe you're talking about a country, you're talking about a city, you're talking about walking through Disney World efficiently. A couple great examples are the Old Spanish Trail or maybe orbiting a planet. Think about logically where you're going to plant your person first, what would make sense to their brain, and then move accordingly. So you would organize your main points spatially. Now, let's look at one more, and this one is the most popular, the most obvious, and that's simply topical. You're going to look at this topical idea, and I'm going to kind of get out of the way so you can see a couple simple examples. One, revolving sushi restaurants. You want to tell us 3 really popular revolving sushi restaurants. Maybe you're going to talk about 3 breeds of dolphins. And so here is my tip if you're choosing topical. If chronological doesn't make sense, spatial doesn't make sense, and you're saying, how should I organize my speech? If you do it topically, let me give you a quick tip. And that simply is pick the one you like the most and put it last. You'll need a second wind. Your adrenaline will have worn off. I want you to have the one you love the most be your last one, because that's the one you can't wait to talk about. So if you share your 3 favorite sushi restaurants, make sure the last one is your most favorite. Okay, now, a couple more I want to just briefly share, and then we'll get into these in depth when we talk about persuasion. That's the problem-solution approach and the cause and effect approach. So, problem solution, it just chunks it a little bit different. You clearly say, here's a problem, we identify what is causing that problem, then we talk about a solution. Cause and effect, again, you have a couple approaches to this. You can talk about multiple causes that are creating one effect, or you could talk about one cause that is having what we call a ripple effect or multiple effects. So when we get into persuasion, you'll see a couple options for that. But I want to just leave you simply with this. Where you put your information matters. You can make this ride smooth for your audience, or you can make it very difficult to follow. And with the attention span of our society and the options for them to sort of check out and stop listening being so many, I would encourage you, pick the organizational pattern that makes the most sense, not just to you, but I would solicit some people around you and say, does this make sense to you as well? So as you're organizing your information, make sure that you're thinking about the people that you're talking to and you're organizing it in a way that makes them want to stay with you till the very end.